So my experience with STAMP started in my first year of teaching. I arrived at Clearfield High School in mid-December to teach Spanish 1 through AP and International Baccalaureate. The previous teacher had been sick the whole first half of the year, and students had a different substitute every day. And I had little idea of what I was doing. I was just trying to make it to the next day. And then in February, my district supervisor told me about the STAMP test and that she had a theory that she wanted me to try out with her.
Okay, my theory was that AP test scores could be predicted using STAMP data. This was back in 2012, and I had a hunch that if a student had intermediate mid, they could get a 3 on the AP test. If they were intermediate high, they could get a 4, or if they were in the advanced ranges, they could get a 5. So in February, we had the AP students take the test, and we saw that only one student averaged less than intermediate mid, and Roger worked with that student on their weaker spots, and when the AP scores came out, all the students had passed. Our predictions for the scores were nearly 100%.
So after the first year, I was able to tell my AP students what the data meant in the past so that they could have an idea of what they needed to improve and what their odds of passing the AP test were looking like. And I realized that I could also use that information, that data, to encourage my Spanish 4 students to continue to AP. I discovered that a lot of students didn't want to continue to AP because they were discouraged by the perceived rigor and challenge of taking an AP course. But when I was able to show them that the data suggested that they would pass the AP test, even in Spanish 4, they were put at ease, and my AP class size started to grow. I was able to grow my program as well as the junior high feeder programs because students were able to tell their younger siblings and their neighbors that we had a way to accurately predict AP success.
With this growth came new challenges. Davis School District had been using STAMP for horizontal alignment within same schools, but now we were intrigued with the possibility of placing students based on proficiency rather than seat time across the district. Roger and his colleagues were getting students entering their Spanish 4 course who had taken Spanish 1 through 3 at the junior high school and had received straight A's, but they were still novice mid.
I felt so bad for these students because many of them had planned on taking AP the following year when they really needed to go back a level or more. The other Spanish teacher and I used STAMP data to place students into the appropriate class level, whether that meant repeating a level or jumping ahead a level, skipping a level where appropriate. Because of all the growth, we also had some who were ready to enter 10th grade in AP after 3 years of Spanish based on our proficiency goals.
With the success and momentum at Clearfield High School, we decided to start placing students into the appropriate class based on their proficiency level in more and more of our schools. At the end of the school year, we would look at the STAMP data of all students, and we would give that data back to the high school, who would then place the students correctly. At the district level, we would send an email to all of the parents and guardians of these students, and we would state that their student had been placed in an appropriate level based on proficiency. But we also explained in the letter that the students were free to move to a class that they wanted, but if they went below the recommended level, they were likely to be bored and have behavioral issues. If they went above where they were placed, they were likely to struggle, and that would be reflected in their grades.
We were nervous to see how parents would respond to this, but they actually responded very well. After a few days in class, the students also were appreciative of the recommendations and enjoyed being in the appropriate class.
The varying levels of preparedness of our students caused our district to look at curriculum and proficiency with new eyes. We created targets for each of our levels that we taught, and we reworked our curriculum as well to improve vertical alignment. We also increased our professional development, especially when it came to proficiency, and that was really to help ensure that our teachers were on the same page regarding proficiency and how to get students there.
Because we've been testing students every year, we were able to track them on their path to earning the syllabi literacy. We had more and more students taking language courses, and we had more and more students doing more things with language. Many students were qualifying for the syllabi literacy and then continuing with AP and IB classes. They would qualify for the syllabi literacy in one language and then continue to study another language, or they would qualify for the syllabi literacy and then stop taking language courses so that they could pursue classes that they needed in order to graduate. I love what STAMP was able to do for me in my teaching career, as well as that of my colleagues. But most importantly, I'm thankful for what STAMP was able to help students accomplish.